Greetings, everyone. Happy birthday, Richard, if you're watching this. Some time ago, not that long ago anyway, when streaming the movie Wicked, I got out one of my little sketchbooks, and I started drawing the Grimmerie, which is a book that's featured in that film. And the idea was maybe we need to kind of make a version of that. And at first it was like, oh, maybe make a full-size version or something like that. But after a while, it's like, I don't know if I'd want a full-size version of that thing. So instead, I went to the dollar store and I found this, which is the only one that they had. Now, I guess the easy way of dealing with making the Grimmerie, because it's a two-book kind of tome, would be if they had two of these, and then you could hinge it together, and then, cut it to that pizza slice or envelope flap shape. Well, they only had this one, so... and I didn't travel around all over the place. So I'm going to do something a little bit different with this, and I think it'll save me a little bit of hassle as well. So what I did was, if you can see here, there are several sections, and it says that it has like 288 pages. Well, I don't need 288 pages of a Grimmerie. So I'm going to tear this thing apart. And as I've sort of said in my mission statement of sorts, that I try to do things in real time. Now, this may end up being like a multi-part thing, but the idea here, anyway, is that I'm going to make a miniature Grimmerie and not use the entire thing. So I've wet that surface a little bit, and I have like a little piece of sandpaper. I'm just going to get rid of some of this if I can here. And we're not really going to use that side, I don't think, anyway. Now, would it be easier to paint over? Yeah, I'm sure it would have been easier. Am I kind of wrecking the surface a little bit? Well, possibly. But this is going to end up being kind of the back of the book. And we'll skip back and forth from the notes that I made on a single page, and then we'll just see what happens. Come on now. We'll still see something of the text that I've kind of erased. Ooh. I'll just give that a quick little wipe off. Yeah, you can still see it a little bit, but not the worst thing to happen. Got one more little piece of paper here. But we'll not worry about that as much. Okay. Now, I'll flatten this down just a little bit. Maybe tilt it a little bit more towards me. And let's set that aside. Okay, so the idea is to make a miniature version of this. Now, I already marked out the center of one of the maybe 9 sections. I'm not going to use the entire book, but I'll actually save some of these pages to be used for other things. So we're going to use the rest of this as much as possible. Ooh, I don't know if that was the best place to tear that. Doesn't matter. Glue will be our friend at the end of this anyway. And I did bring scissors. Okay, now there'll be a bit of an overlap, obviously, and maybe, let's see here, I do have glue. Okay, I hope this isn't all dried out. Otherwise, I'm going to feel pretty silly about this whole thing. It seems to be kind of dried out. Let's see. I have another thing of glue which I brought as backup. Now, this seems to be fluid moving stuff. It's not going to dry as quickly as the other, but that is okay. I'm going to add some, maybe here, for the fold down. Now, if I were so crafty, I might take a moment or two to get rid of some of that excess thread. Okay. Tighten that up, set that over there for a moment. I think I would rather it be, let's see if I can get a little bit of that glue out that I just kind of tossed away. Okay, set that over there for a moment. Because I do want it to kind of go a little quicker. This would be ideal. So I'm going to try this one more time. No, I really might have emptied it. Oh well, it was probably wise to just throw that away. No, maybe not. Come on. Well, oh, okay. It is, a little bit is coming out. Not perfect though. Although perfect isn't really possible. But that's what you get for not checking things before you sit down to make a video. Let's see here. Now, while that's setting up, I'm going to move the center marker to the edge over here. And we're going to unnecessarily trim the back section of this book away. I'm going to ruin it in a moment anyway. Okay, so for some sort of future thing, I do have a bunch of these for doodle's sake, or wherever I want to use those in the future. So now, not perfect back there, but I think it might suit our purposes. This extra little bit of page here, I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's just going to be awkward, so we can get rid of it. And we'll do a partial super glue, and then some of the other glue throughout the rest of this over here, just so that it'll bind together at some point. Some of that can be done at another time too. All right, so here is going to be the trick, and we'll have to see how this will work out, because I'm going to need a hinge side. So if I look at the drawing that I made, the hinge happens at the top side here, and then the whole thing flips so that you see the back of it after. So I'm thinking, could I make use of it here, or am I going to have to use this semi-spoiled side here? Well, I'm going to end up using it along here, so we're going to do a rough cut to split this thing in half, but we're going to keep this back page and not cut it. Let's see what we can do. Ooh, that jumped through, but that's okay. Now, we're going to fold this over as best we can. Okay, now we need to figure out what exactly, or where exactly we want that. Yeah, so it's going to be there. Now I'm going to, because this side here is a little uneven, it's going to be approximately, well, close to the size of the doodle that I have. And then we can cut the back half after. I don't know if you can see what I did there. Now, we're going to end up cutting this like so. use this as the template of sorts for the rest of the mini Grimmerie. So that would have been a lot of wasted book if I used all 288 pages for what I'm doing with this. Maybe even make another one out of the scraps if I feel like it. So that is the hinge side, which I could probably just use a little bit of tape if I see fit to do so. So there you go. I made a tiny, rough-looking Grimmerie. Interesting. I'll set that there for a second. Brush this off. That's funny. That is pretty close to my doodle. And being that this is going to be the side that I'm going to put some little fillery or filigree, depending on how you want that to work out, sort of like acanthus leaves and whatnot. We are going to do this a little bit differently though. So let me talk about the drawing here first. There seems to be sort of three sections of, I don't know if you want to call it iconography. Here, where there's kind of like, I don't know if this is like supposed to be a deer-like creature with a fanciful heart off to one side. Ignore this. So there's that. And then off here, just off center of this point here, there's sort of like a tree-like structure. I don't know. And then up here towards the top, there's what could be the alphabet. I don't know who this is supposed to be, but anyway, somebody that perhaps can read whatever this book is. So I am going to rough that in, and we're going to use a red pen to do it. Actually, let me see about something here first. Okay. I'm going to make sure I put those things in first, and then we'll do the rest of the scrolly looking things. Suppose this should have been a little shorter like that up there. Anyway, we're not worried about that right now. So I have this, and we're going to put that in first, and we'll see how that goes. Come on, zoom in. Now you can see it a little bit, but I wonder if it should be done in black ink. Let's try some black ink then. And we'll try one of these micron things. I'm just seeing if I have any painter's tape around just to keep that flipping open. No. Of course, my hope was to have it go in red and look pretty decent, but I think this might work out. Let's try this. I don't know if I can get that to stay kind of there. We're just going kind of rough because of its size. And there's kind of like little, I don't know if they're supposed to be like flames. No idea. And maybe some wiggly spells. No matter. Next one we're going to go for is this tree down here. And not a lot of room. Just something like that. And then down here, we're going to put what could be like a deer-like creature. And maybe I'll do it in such a way that I may still trim part of this thing. Now, in some ways, it seems to have a circle around it, but not really. And maybe like a stylized thing going on here. Well, it's at this point where we can see if we can quickly just add some filigree. Kind of like little leaves and whatnot, so some of it could be very specific symbolism, I don't know. But I want to make sure I got those icons in place first. So we can put like little swirlies, little leaves. I'm sure there is very specific symbols that the prop designers used. I'm not sure. Now I'm going to do a little bit of accenting, I guess, around some of those things, just to show that we actually did put some effort into what something was supposed to mean. Now I guess you can buy a prop replica. I don't know if that's something I would want. It could be cool. I like a lot of that kind of stuff. Because, you know, artsy stuff is neat to someone like me. And the fact that somebody sat down and tried to come up with an idea and design it, I think is pretty cool. So yeah, I may trim, like I say, part of that down there just to meet up with the look of the other side. So that's what we have so far for the Grimmerie. Now, because this is it does like permanent ink, it should be okay here soon to be dry enough to kind of manipulate. For fun, I'm just going to add a little bit of fun detail around that. Okay. I think that's probably the main part of that. Something that I made note of whenever they designed the prop, they did this hinge a little bit different. For some reason, they put the pin and hinge part, which would stick out kind of like, let me grab a little piece of scrap paper here. So hinges work with a pin, and there's one side that generally sticks out. So if you go look at a door frame, you'll notice that. For some reason, they did this on the inside of the book, and that would annoy me. I don't know why they did that, but it doesn't matter. With this, we're just going with like a piece of tape or something like that. But for fun, I'm going to draw in this hinge. And I'm going to focus on this just a little bit. So I do like interesting little details like this. Pretend that there's a hinge there. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's it. We'll call this part 1 of a miniature Grimmerie. And that way, you know, you don't have to sit through, I don't know how long it's going to take. The next video might be it, where I will do some of the inside of the iconic page, which will be the spell, pardon me, the spell for flight that Alphaba uses to get the flying monkeys off the ground, and also for her broom. So let's say that will be it, end of part 1, and join me for part 2, and we'll see how this goes. All right, have a wonderful day. See you in part 2.